Okay, we have another trade here in the first round. Minnesota trading the 19th overall selection to Memphis for the 22nd and the 29th overall selection that Memphis owned. And Memphis is going to get this kid, Jake LaRavia, out of Wake Forest, 6'8", 235-pound junior. Played his first 2 seasons at Indiana State before transferring to Wake Forest last season. Scored a higher average last season, 15 points per game than he did in any season for the Sycamores. And Jake LaRavia, he'll wear a Minnesota Timberwolves hat, but he's going to Memphis. As you take a look at the trade details, again, the Timberwolves get the 22nd overall pick and the 29th overall pick, and the Grizzlies get the 19th selection, Jake LaRavia out of Wake Forest. Do you like this trade here for the Memphis Grizzlies between the Timberwolves as they acquire LaRavia in the deal?
You would have to convince me that LaRavia is not going to be there at 22 or even 29.
Right.
To package those picks to move up to 19 to grab him. This is not unlike what the Grizzlies did last year to move up to get Zaire Williams. This is something that Zach Kleiman has consistently done since taking over that franchise. In fact, every first-round pick the Grizzlies have made, with the exception of Ja Morant in the Zach Kleiman era, has included them moving up to take somebody they wanted. And this is just the latest edition of that. I'll give it a B, if only because I had LaRavia closer to 30 than 20. But the Grizzlies have done, and I think this is well established, an incredible job of identifying guys that they want. And then you look up and you go, man, Desmond Bane's better than anybody thought. Brandon Clark is better than anybody thought. Perhaps Jake LaRavia can be the next example of that. As a Memphian, I hope so.
They've earned credibility
right.
with how they've picked in the past. And what you're getting here is a valuable role player around Ja Morant because he's going to space the floor. He is not only someone who makes spot-up shots, he understands what a good shot is, and he is a very willing ball mover. So he's never going to be an alpha, but as you're building your team around a dynamic playmaker like Ja Morant, it's these type of players who provide him the space necessary to do what he does at an elite level.
And I think you got to also include Jaren Jackson Jr. As that 1-2 punch.
Sure.
And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to spend a little bit more time at the center position, especially in this new NBA, being a stretch 5, which we know he can knock down some three-point shots. So then how do you fill in those other 3 spots with Ja Morant beating the head of the stake and the engine in the car, and then Jaren Jackson Jr.? Those other 3 positions would be critical. And when you look at LaRavia, a big guy that can handle the ball, pass, dribble, and shoot, you can see all of his highlights. You saw him last year, could put the ball on the floor. But again, as Adam alluded to, he spaces the floor to give both Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. room to operate.
Adam, could this be a guy similar to Desmond Bane? You get him late in the draft. I know Desmond Bane went 30th in 2020, and you're getting him here a little bit earlier. But is this a guy that could transform into, I'm not saying an all-star like Desmond Bane has the ability to do, but a guy that you go, wow, he's a good role player for this Memphis team?
If he can defend at a reasonable level, because we know what he brings offensively. And interestingly enough, Jake LaRavia went to the Combine, and yeah, he shot the ball pretty well, but he also measured out pretty well in terms of like the lane agility and stuff like that, which are usually the drills that people don't put quite as much emphasis on. But I think he used that as some ammunition to say, hey, I'm going to be able to defend my position at the next level. And if he can do that, I think he's going to be a successful NBA player.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.